We're back from Cape York. We've got fuel pumps out, turbos, exhaust manifolds, intercoolers, half this engine apart. The 3 litre nightmare continues. If you saw our Cape York series recently, Dad's 3 litre patrol had a bunch of issues up in Cape York and it was a fair ordeal to fix it. But we managed, or we thought we managed, to get it all fixed. Now it got itself home all right, 3,000 kilometre drive home, but within a couple of weeks of being home, it's just not running very well. It's starting like absolute garbage. The problems have been stacking up again. At this point, Dad's not too sure whether he should have bought this car, but in this episode we're going to be getting everything diagnosed, repairing it all, going right over this car and hopefully getting it all up to scratch for future trips. Or maybe just throw the whole thing in the bin if it's too much, one or the other.
Proudly supported by Opus Campers, Ultimate 9, Tread, Superior Engineering, GME, and in part by. Before we get into diagnosing and repairing the 3 litre engine, we're going to quickly chuck some new brakes on it as it hasn't been stopping the best and Dad has been keen to get these on for a while now.
So I've got DBA T2s, they're slotted rotors, it's what I use on my car, and they work good. So, and then I've just got RDA, the cheapest pads you can get because they're soft and they actually make your car stop. They may wear out faster, but they work very good. I'm going to start with the front of the car, I'm going to jack it up. We're going to strip out all your wheel bearings because you need to change the front discs, and we'll go through all that and do a bit of maintenance as well. I've got the wheel bearing off with the disc. That's as far as we tear into this one. We don't have to pull a circle clip off all this stub axle. Just to change the disc on this, we're just going to undo all these bolts and then that'll fall off the back. We get the new one, bolt it on, and then reassemble, do all your wheel bearings back up. Bob's your uncle, uncle's your kin. If you're going to reuse these too, you wouldn't use a normal hammer, you'd use a nice soft hammer, but since we're replacing it, normal hammer. So the finger saw on that, mate, or what, eh? Chopped him up. They're the same size. The main benefit of these over this is these help get rid of heat heaps faster. If you look at his old one, you can see, you know, they've been rusty. They've sat around for a while, and then we've gone driving on them, and they've shined back up a bit. But they're heaps rougher, and they feel heaps worse than these new ones. Bit locked up, mate. What do we use that for?
Dealing with brakes, important safety stuff. You don't want to mess about.
Like if it was your car, probably wouldn't use it. But Gary, mate, he's a legend. So now we got the disc back on, wheel hub assembly on, nice wheel bearing back in. Got the slides out, so they're all greased up. That's what makes your brakes work good. So I'm going to clean up all that old grease, brake cleaner rag, get it all out. These aren't too bad. Normally they get all gritty and charcoaly and like you have to get a drill bit in there and like spin the drill bit and it like digs it all out. But these ones will just be able to clean and then re-grease. This is a pretty important step if you want your brakes to actually work properly rather than just bang new pads in and be average. It's that little extra mile. You can also get some emery. And if these are old and have had water in there, they get pitted and you clean them up so they're all smooth and shiny and slide good. You don't want to put too much grease on these because they won't go all the way in. And you've got to make sure them boots go back on because if they don't, you get dirt in there, you should be stuck like a brick, mate. Mate, what are these? RDA, general purpose, none of them four-wheel drive heavy duty ones. What's this red compound for? To help bed your brakes in. I've put them in enough cars to know he's going to be happy with how they stop. So currently what I'm doing, I've got the old pad here so I don't scratch up the piston, and it's two, so you have to push them both at the same time. If you push one, the other one will come out because there's fluid in there. But this pushes the pistons back so that I have room for the new pads because they're obviously, you know, normally you change your worn out pads, these pistons are all the way out and we need to get them all the way in.
So a big pair of mouldies is the best tool for that job?
No, it's not, but it's what we have. So that's that side done, new rotor on, new pads in, slides greased, wheel bearings adjusted, hub sealed up, mate. I'm going to get over the other side, do that side, and then once I've done that, down the back.
So we won't film the other side because it's exactly the same.
Yeah, you've seen it 77 times now. I'm getting sick of doing it. Onto the back. Disc, pads, this one will be a bit quicker than front. So, same as the front, I'm just going to pull the slides out, re-grease them. So that's that side done. Now I'm going to go rinse and repeat, do the other side. Brakes are all done. Next up, we're going to finish off Gary's budget lift kit by putting these lowers in. They didn't have them in stock when we did it last time. We picked them up on our way to Cape and we're finally getting to installing them. So these are plus 10 GU lowers, so it'll push the diff back 10 mil. Our factory one, we already have a slight bend in it, and they're known to snap and bend and carry on and leave you stuck. So we put some heavy duty ones in that'll, you know, you might be able to ride them on a rock a little bit and they won't break like them. So
Where are they from?
Superior Engineering, mate, nothing but the best around here, you know this. What shirt you got on today, what jumper?
You've got a Superior Engineering jumper
Mate,
on.
Look at that.
Look at that, right there, she's on.
Oh. So you can see why you have to drop the slide a little long.
Big bolt. Berto got the lower control arms all installed, then headed off to Just Lubes Mechanical to start diagnosing the problems with the Patrol.
Just made my way down to Benny's at Just Lubes, you know, my local friend, expert, best mechanic in town, I reckon. He's also helped us get all the injectors and everything while we're away, but since we've done all that, we still have a hard start issue where it cranks for too long. So I'm going to come down, see if I can borrow his skiing tool, see what we can get done.
Being that we only have an at-home shed and limited tools, when it comes to properly diagnosing these common rail diesel motors, it is much easier to do at a mechanical shop that has the proper equipment. We wanted to make sure we could get to the bottom of everything that was going on with Dad's 3-litre Patrol and get it running nice and smooth.
We're going to smoke test this thing, see if it's got any burst leaks. There you go, Tyler, you can be happy, mate, we're doing work. Rightio, so what we're doing, we've got a few codes. Fuel pump performance, boost pressure circuit. That sounded like it had a boost leak, so we've got a smoke machine here. You put like baby oil, mineral oil in it, it makes a smoke that goes out of the smallest holes you can ever imagine. So I'm going to smoke test the intake and make sure that that's good. That'll rule one thing out, and then I think after that we're going to go to the fuel line from the pumper down to the fuel pump. We'll put a clear line on it and we'll see if it's all straight fuel or if there's bubbles in it. If there's bubbles in it, we're sucking in air maybe on the bottom of the fuel filter. Somewhere though, and that will also cause an extended crank and possibly the code. So we'll start there and get that done. So now that we found it's got a boost leak from the intercooler to the intake, we're going to check for fuel sucking in air. So I've got some clear hose. We're going to put a big loop in it, down to the pump, see if we've got air, mate.
Berto's been gone, 3 hours?
For a while, yeah.
Been down to Benny's. He's come back. He said, look, you got a match because we might be off just burning this thing on fire.
It's got a few problems.
So see that TD42 over there that needs a rebuild.
We'll put that in here.
Rebuild that, put it in here.
What are you doing, mate? What are you doing?
Let's call Dad and share the news to him. Hey. Yeah, Berto spent the last, 3 hours at Benny's diagnosing this thing.
Yep.
He's found a few problems. There's definitely a little bit going on with it.
Right. right.
The fuel lines are all pretty old and cruddy, and it was sucking air in a couple of fuel lines, so I've put some new clamps on instead of the crappy old clamps, and it's made it a bit better to start, but it could just, you know, if you want to be reliable and whatever, it's probably due for all new, just the little lines and whatever, nothing too crazy. The intercooler's got a leak, which we knew before we left anyway, just a little one. But it's also got a big boost leak over near the intake. Me and Benny put the smoke machine on it, and it's got a pretty big boost leak. And then other than that, your fuel pump is leaking a bit of fuel out of it, so it's not the happiest character. But it's reading all its pressures right. It's doing everything it should be doing. It's just slightly wet. It's not dripping. It's just wet. And the other thing is, you've probably noticed a high-pitched squeal.
Yeah.
And that's your exhaust manifold. It's leaking exhaust between the head and the manifold. So that's what I found with it. It's got a few things that probably all adds up by the time you do everything.
And it's a car bought with 200,000 Ks. It's a car of red light box shit.
Yeah.
I'm still happy working with it.
Yeah.
It'd be smart and best to fix them all. That's fair to say.
Yeah. Well, I was pretty much thinking and saying to Tyler, by the time you fixed all that, there's not much on here you haven't fixed. It'd be good for another 200,000.
Yeah, that's right, and that's what they're all about.
They're sort of getting to that age where that's what they do.
But anyway, you go to Diesels, you have a holiday that you just can't stop thinking about, and can't stop paying about, but that's all good.
Yeah. So that's it. Well, that's the conclusion for today. We fixed a whole bunch of stuff, did a couple of modifications.
People are going to say, oh, 3 litres garbage, should have never bought one, but
You think, how old is this thing? It's 2008.
Yeah,
it's 2024.
It's just hit its time, 200,000 kilometres. This is kind of a modern diesel thing in a sense.
Most of the things that are wrong with this would be routine maintenance. So them fuel lines probably would have been changed in your servicing, in your book, before 200,000. They're still genuine. They haven't been changed. So,
yeah.
Like, if you followed the book exactly as it was, you probably wouldn't have half these problems.
So we might, start organising some parts over the next couple of days, get some things in, and then we'll be back to fix this heap of junk. Get her back, get her ready for the next big adventure, Cape York 2.0.
Oh, 2025, mate.
It's next week, we're back again. We spent the end of last week doing a bunch of ordering online. The first order has turned up, so we can continue working on Dad's Patrol. I'll get Birdo to run through what we have.
So we have a brand new, genuine Bosch fuel injection high pressure pump, a fuel pressure rail sensor, so it does that. We have a relief valve. We've got a genuine Nissan exhaust manifold, a non-genuine gasket kit, so exhaust manifold, turbo, the oil feed, water feed, cooling, all that, studs, and copper nuts, so we can replace all this.
So we looked at pulling his exhaust manifold off and getting it remachined and getting all the gasket and that, but it pretty much, by the time you muck around doing all that, this is just the cheaper, easier way to do it. Just get a new one for the price. And what are those couple of sensors or adapters we got? Because they weren't broken, were they?
They're not broken, but we figured we've done everything else. We've done injectors, everything else in the fuel system. These are the last two pieces of the puzzle. This is just a pressure sensor, so it reads the rail pressure. And then this one is the pressure relief valve, so this lets the excess pressure out of the rail back to the fuel tank. So just in case they're playing up, or if they're gonna, they're all old parts. We figured for the price these are, they were like maybe $200 for both of them. We figured we'd just do it. First of all, I've got to pull the intercooler off, strip some bits out of the way. I'll make a decision on what I feel like doing first today. I've got the intercooler off. I've decided I'm probably going to tackle the fuel pump first. To do that, it's going to be like battery out, EGR cooler off, so I'll have to disconnect the coolant line, so I may as well drain this radiator so I don't make a big mess. The winds of fortune don't blow the same. She had to get out and make a change.
These common rail diesel engine bays are a bit messy.
A nightmare, brother. This is your EGR cooler, so the exhaust gas goes in through that, and then water cools it, and it goes back into the intake. Unplug that. This is your EGR valve. Boom, boom.
There's a bit of gear to get out of the way to get that fuel pump.
Yeah, there is. There is a bit of gear. Now look at this. She dirty, she old. You can see how it's all wet, been leaking. Boom, boom.
And what fuel pump did we get? It was just a genuine one?
Yeah, genuine Bosch. So Bosch is what they use, genuine. Nissan don't make their own fuel pump, it's just they buy a Bosch unit.
So what's the plan now? Is it like a TD where you have to time it all up and that sort of stuff?
Nah, this one's not. So as you can see, this is just one big slot. There's no gear with marks. It's common rail, so this pump just supplies pressure, where with a TD pump, it's actually all timed and each delivery valve goes to each cylinder, which this one just goes up and the injectors do all the timing in the computer.
Pretty much redo everything you did now in reverse, get it back in.
Yeah, I'll give everything a bit of a clean up, wipe down all the old fuel, so you know when it's back together and going good, we know it's not leaking or anything like that. So I'll spend a bit of time cleaning it and we'll get it back in the car. So this is sealed with an O-ring in the timing cover. So I've got some red rubber grease, greased him on, so it's going to make a nice seal. We don't want spudgy because it'll ruin the O-ring when it comes out if we ever have to pull it out. This will just keep it lubricated so when it goes in, it's in the right spot. Fuel pump's down, bolted in. While I'm going, I've got the feed line off, which blocks off this pressure relief valve, so I'm going to undo that, pull that out, and I'll put a new one in. So there's the old one out, there's nothing wrong with it.
So we'll just sort of keep those couple as a spare.
Yeah.
But we figured since we've replaced 90% of this fuel system now, it'd be a bit silly not to replace the last two small bits.
Yeah, correct. Fuel pump's all back in. From here, I'm going to make sure it runs. So I've just put the intercooler back on, plugged the map sensor in. These are just loose, both of them, because I just need to see it running. I don't need it to be perfect. Because I'm going to pull that back off in a minute when I do the exhaust. So I'm going to see if it starts now. Might take a few cranks, get all the fuel pumped up.
Make sure the job was successful.
Yeah, I don't want to do 5 jobs and then it not start and maybe like, I wonder which bit it is.
Yeah.
Make sure it's nice and full down to the pump and then see if it goes.
Starts heaps nicer than what it did before.
That was the aim of the plan, wasn't it?
Yeah. And then it'll be over to the exhaust side of things.
Yeah, heaps of stuff over there, and
That's even bigger mess over
I
the.
hope the back of the turbo studs don't snap off. All the studs don't snap at all anywhere. You know, not fun, but we'll get it. We'll get it done. What's the time now? That's bloody 1:40. I started at 8:30.
Yeah.
That's a fuel pump. Bada bing, bada bong, done. You know, if you had a workshop, mate, that would have cost you, I don't know, whole day's labour at least.
Yeah.
Scammed us, mate. So I'm going to start with pulling off some of this intake pipe, catch can, that intercooler pipe. It's all in the way. There's going to be some water lines over there to take off, dump pipe, turbo, oil lines, water cooling lines, and then hopefully it all comes off easy as peasy, but that's never the case with these things. So, yeah, we'll get it done. She on there good, bro. So that's gone all hard and brittle. Like plastic, that's why it wouldn't come off. Good spare, no longer good spare. Heat shield off, so now we can see all the other bolts that have to come off. Let's see if I can pull this turbo off, and then boom-bitty, mate.
Dump pipes out.
Looks pretty good, mate.
While we got the turbo off, just figured we'd do a bit of inspection of it, make sure it's all in good condition.
You see where it's been leaking, mate. Front one, back one. See how that's got that much movement?
Yeah, bit up and down movement there.
Yeah, so that should be dead flat. So this one here is dead flat, it's got no wobble in it. This one's high in the middle, low on the ends, that's why the two ends are
Leaking.
Yeah. I'm replacing all the studs for the turbo in the back of the turbo itself as well, so these are the turbo mounting ones. So these ones are old and crusty, they're in there, we don't want to reuse them, they might snap. So this kit we got has everything. So I'm going to screw these in, get ready to put it in the car. How good is that? just cleaned up the surface for the manifold to go on. We had new studs in, about to get a new gasket, a little bit of silicone, spudgy, and I'm going to put the manifold in there. Don't even need shed lights, mate, when you've got the ultimate man lights.
That's the ultimate setup.
We've got all the turbo, exhaust, manifold, dump pipe all bolted back on, all the oil lines back on. That's pretty much completed. Next step would be to put everything back together, and to do that we need to put intercooler pipes on. So I had to run down to the shops, get the rest of the parts. Nice welded end tank, just factory replacement intercooler. Full hose kit with clamps. And then I've actually got some nice genuine Nissan fuel hose to replace some of them old hoses over there, just for that little bit of reliability.
So when you say a welded intercooler, what do you mean by that?
So the end tanks on this intercooler are crimped. Like this is a alloy end tank, but it's still crimped onto the core, where these ones are just straight welded. So these are renowned for, as you can see just here, there's oil coming out. It's obviously got a bit of a leak.
And while we discussed maybe spending money getting a big front mount, but for his application, it's
for his application, where you know it's just a bit of a weekender, not crazy power, just wants to be reliable. $600 or whatever this costs compared to a $2,000 front mount intercooler kit. Where do you stop? Where do you start?
Yeah, there's always bigger, better, more, but
you know, with us we like getting biggest, best everything, but with Gary we'll stay modest, and you know this is every day. People can just go grab this off the shelf. You don't have to do any custom fab work. It just straight bolts on.
This is the everyday 3 litre build, mate. This isn't some extreme TD42 bloody machine.
Right. And you watch, you still keep up with us. Intercooler's mounted on the bracket. From here, I'm replacing all these intercooler pipes. So I've got a kit from Burson's. They're all just, you know, nice new silicone hoses and clamps, because these are all old and getting soft, and you know they're probably ready to fail. So we'll get rid of them. Mate, reliability coming up.
Gonna be the most reliable 3 litre.
Yeah, for a week. For a week. Intercooler, all the new piping, all the new hose clamps on. Just going to chuck these fuel lines in, then I'm going to be able to start her up, make sure everything's good, and we'll be done. Back to normal, mate.
Starts a bit nicer now.
Back to normal.
Apart from that squeaky belt, so I may have to put a new belt on it.
Yeah, we only just did one, but that was before we went through all that silty water, so we'll do another one.
So Berto's just taking it out now for that bit of a test drive, make sure there's no coolant leaks, fuel leaks, it's all running smoothly, and that's Dad's GU back on the road, ready for the next adventure. Didn't end up being too bad in the end. There was a few $1,000s worth of repairs there. I think just after how much it cost us in Cape York with the tow and the injectors and all the repairs up there, and then you get back and then you just got another few $1,000s to spend on it. But yeah, I don't know, let me know what you guys think. Should we keep working with the 3 litre? Should we engine swap it? If so, what to? Hopefully there's no more repairs, fingers crossed, for a little while. Get through a few more trips.